Okay, so we've got a recording going. Hello, everyone. I guess good afternoon officially. My name is Jen Hinderleiter, and I'm the Executive Director of the Local Change Foundation. And we want to thank you so much for joining us today. This is the first session in our series of virtual mental health trainings that the Local Change Foundation is going to be offering for free to the community this year. So hope that you'll join us in future sessions if you enjoy the one today, and we'll share that information in the chat with you later in the presentation. But just wanted to let you know that the Local Change Foundation's mission is to bring people and resources together to strengthen our communities. And we're really passionate about strengthening mental health in our community. So we're really excited to bring this presentation to you today. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type them into the chat as they come up, and we'll monitor it and make sure that they're answered for you. And also we'll be sending out an email after this presentation in the next day or two with a survey to get your feedback, and we'll also include a recorded version of today's presentation. So without further ado, we are so excited to have Kim Muller, Executive Director of the Alliance for Suicide Prevention, as our presenter today. So Kim, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us, and take it away.
I'm on mute. It's okay. I've only been doing this for like a decade now. Thank you so much for letting me join you all today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and then we're going to jump right in. You will need your cell phone today, so if you have a cell phone, please grab that. Also, I'll be dropping some links into the chat if you don't have a cell phone, so you can link directly to the things that we're doing, so don't stress about that either. So my name, again, is Kim Muller. I'm the Executive Director at the Alliance for Suicide Prevention. I have been doing work in the mental health field since about 2013. Prior to that, I was a high school teacher. I was born and raised in Fort Collins, Colorado, and then I ran wild in my 20s for a decade around the world. I lived in Hong Kong, Hawaii, California, like just shenanigans. And I found my way coming back home in my late 20s and found my way into this work. And so I am a licensed professional counselor. I'm 7 years sober, and I share that because it is a huge part of my reflection and my journey and my teachings and the work that I do in building mental wellness toolkits. So not only am I bringing professional experience, but I'm also bringing in lived experience of moving through really difficult, challenging life circumstances. So I think that's all about me for now. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can all jump right in. That's a moose. I was looking for the slideshow. There we go. Right on. And let me pull your beautiful faces. Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with this yet. Hold tight. I don't even know how I just did that. You guys are seeing my, thank you. Thank you for letting me be human. I appreciate it so much. Okay. Well, let's see here. I'm so sorry. I'm going to get this figured out. I can do hard things. Yeah. All right. That's your first lesson today. Sing to yourself. All right. Don't do that.
We can still see your people's screen, so you might have to minimize that one.
How do I?
Well, now she's gone. Bear with us.
I was gonna say, where'd she go?
As we get her back up and running. She's back.
There we go.
Oh, I can do this. I swear I am a professional presenter. I do this for a living. All right. Let's try this one more time. I'm going to do it right this time. I'm so confident in my ability. All right. How about now? How's that? Great.
Perfect.
All right. I'm not going to touch anything else. Thank you so much. Okay. So just a little bit about my organization. So we are based out of Larimer County, which is Fort Collins, Loveland, Red Feather, Estes, that area. We provide all of our services at no cost to the community, and that includes training, education, peer support, and grief services. And I just want to share a little bit about who we are in case in the future you are interested in connecting with us. But I'm going to move right past that and jump into what are we going to do today. So we only have an hour. We have 55 minutes, and there is this is going to be surface level because each one of these I feel like we could really dive into as a full day workshop, but because we have an hour today, I am just going to touch the surface level of how are we managing stress and through gratitude, mindfulness, and a wellness plan. So this whole thing is really just about building your mental wellness toolkit so that you can move through life situations. So I want to make sure that we're on the same page. And when we're talking about mental wellness, I am talking about how well you cope with stress, connect with others, and enjoy life. One of my one of my staff members, she's so wonderful. She often talks to me and she says things. One of my favorite sayings that she says is, life is hard, and if anybody tells you otherwise, they're lying to you. And I I know that seems like blase, but I share that because oftentimes when I'm experiencing stress in life and I'm just like, why? Like, when is it going to get easier? And I just have Tracy in the back of my head being like, life is hard and that's okay. And so today, as we're moving through this and talking about wellness, I want you to know we're not here to talk about mental illness. We're not here necessarily to even talk about mental health, but we are here to talk about mental wellness. So how are you moving through the world? And it is on a spectrum, okay? So from being mentally unwell to being mentally well, we all live on that spectrum. Each and every one of us, myself included, is somewhere on this like timeline, if you will. It's not a timeline, it's a spectrum. And so some of the tools that we're going to talk about today are Band-Aids. These are coping skills. These are the things that you can do in real time today, right now, without having hardly any training or life experiences. Anybody can do these things. And then we're also going to talk about your beliefs. So on the slide, you might see a little Band-Aid like this one, or you might see this little like seedling growing and changing, right? Because in my experience, if we want to manage life well, we can't just do coping skills. So I want you to think to yourself, how many of you have ever been in a situation where my husband just said this to me, that he's like, or I say this all the time. I'm like, I'm doing all of my coping skills and nothing is working. I've gone for a walk. I've done deep breathing. I talked to a trusted friend. I took a bath. I took a whole day off of work and I'm still just like a fried nerve ending, right? Part of that is me having to change the core way that I'm looking at the world. So changing how I'm moving through or handling stress. And those things take time. Oftentimes, when we're talking about therapy and we're doing individual therapy, people will come into therapy with this like this idea that I'm going to go to therapy and for an hour a week, that person is going to fix me. But really, what I see is that when you come in, we're going to give you some tools and we're going to talk about it, but it's the time in between. It's the Tuesday through Sunday that you are working on those skills that we taught. So we're going to talk about these Band-Aids, but the more you incorporate them into your daily life, they become a belief. And then that belief system or value system makes it easier to handle the hard things that come up in life. So we're going to pay attention to both of these areas of our life, knowing that we can't take a ton of time to go super deep. So to start out, what I'm going to ask you all to do is to scan this QR code. And we're going to take a I'm actually going to I can't black out the screen. I was going to stop sharing it for a second. Before you actually scan it and start taking it, I have a few like pro tips. All right. So this was a self-compassion test. It's created by Kristen Neff. And it's really looking into how do I handle stress? How do I handle myself? What kind of response do I have internally when I'm dealing with difficult things? Now, as you take this, first off, you're going to scan it. It's going to take you to the slide. One of the things that it's going to ask you to do is put in your contact information, like your name and your email. You don't have to do that. below that question, there's a little link that says, I don't want to put in my personal information. And you just click that and you go straight to the test. Or it's maybe at the end when you hit submit results. But regardless, you don't have to put in your name or your email. So this is 26 questions, and I'm going to ask you to take it from your gut, okay, not from your brain. I want you to respond in the way that you feel, not overthink like, well, I want to be perceived this way, or I would do this if this happened, but what do I most likely do in this moment? So I'm actually going to give you all the opportunity. It's going to take about 3 to 5 minutes, and if I could get like a thumbs up from just one person, that would be awesome, that we're good to go, because I can't see your faces anymore. Oh, there we go. I see you, Britt. Thank you so much. That's very helpful. All right, so go ahead and do this. I'm going to keep an eye on time, and after about 5 minutes, I will bring you back. And oh, sorry, final reminder, take a screenshot of your results at the end, because if you want to toggle back and forth between your results and like, what does it mean? It'll make you redo the whole test, and you don't want to do that. Okay. All right. Go ahead and take a second. And then Britt, I'm going to ask if you come back on and give me a thumbs up when you're done so that I can maybe have a handle of where everybody else might be. Thank you. So again, I know some of you, you're probably all just finishing up, and that's fine. Again, I'm not here to rush you and take your time, but if you want to use your react button to give me a thumbs up when you're done taking the test, that would be awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I see you. Thank you.
Kim, can you put either the screen back up with the QR code or the link? Just there's a couple people who joined, I think, after it.
Yep, I
went.
certainly will. So for those people who just joined, I apologize. I didn't see that. Right now, folks are taking the self-compassion test by Kristen Neff. It's 26 quick questions, and you do not have to put your name or email in. There is a link below where you can bypass that so that you can just take the test and get your results. And then we'll talk about them in about 2 more minutes. Maybe 1 more minute. Okay, I'm gonna bring everybody back. Um, I'm wondering if there are any general, we don't need to know your survey results. We don't need to know anything, but even if you want to put in chat or unmute yourself and just be like, oh, I hadn't considered these things, or any sharings that you would like to, I welcome those, but if not, that's okay too. So as we're moving through this, one of my favorite things about Kristen Neff is she talks about um, when we have a stress response and our body goes into fight, flight, or freeze. Now, we also know that fawn is one of these, but that wasn't included in this research or in this work. And so we're really going to start with fight, flight, or freeze. Now, we talk about this in my home about as the lizard and the wizard. So the lizard is this part of your brain back here. This is your survival mechanism. This is when life becomes stressful, something is activated in the back of your brain that is like, I'm not okay, things aren't okay, something has to change. And when that happens, now some people think this is like an extreme life-threatening situation. This doesn't have to be life-threatening at all. This could be thinking through like you've had the longest day ever, you're super exhausted, but now you need to feed yourself and your family, and you're like in decision fatigue, and you're like, I can't even. And somebody comes up to you and says, hey, what are we eating for dinner? And you might fight. You might be in self-judgment. You might be like, how I should know this. I should have planned all week. I should know everything already. I should. And it's when we're shoulding all over ourselves, right? I said should. Um, so, or it could be this flight, this isolation of I can't take it anymore. I'm out of my mind at work. I have so many projects. I have so many things. I've got this due date coming up, and everything is feeling so overwhelming to me that my lizard is like, you're not okay. We need to stop. And so we isolate. And this doesn't necessarily mean being all alone by yourself, but this could be I need to stop and take a break, and I'm just going to doom scroll. And before I know it, it's been an hour, and oh my goodness, I haven't done that thing that I wanted to do. It could also be that like turning inward on ourselves and just for me, so my response when I'm in stress is flight. I go into isolation. When I'm overly stressed out, my brain stops working, and I hate it so much. It's so difficult, right? Um, and so that's just a common response. And I talk about this as the lizard, it turns into a dragon, okay? And the only way I can get my dragon to turn back into a lizard is I have to bring my wizard, which is my thinking brain. So when we are in stress, our wizard, our prefrontal cortex, where all of our decision-making power, it goes offline. And what comes online is our lizard. This is our amygdala. This is our fight, flight, freeze survival mechanism. All right. And when we're overly stressed out, that lizard turns into a giant dragon, and it feels overwhelming, and it feels so big. And we do things like freeze, okay, in rumination. So this is thinking, what if I did this? What about this? And I just overthink and I overthink and I overthink, or I think about all of the things that went wrong. This happened. How did I let that happen? I can't believe this happened. Why? And we're just like constantly in our brain thinking through what's going on. This is my husband. He never stops thinking, whereas my brain completely shuts down. It's not a great situation when we're both stressed out, let me tell you, right? But here's what we do know, and hear from the work from Kristen Neff is how do we move from that stress response that we have turned inward on ourselves? Because so often we are our own self-critic. There's very few people in this world that I know that are like just genuinely kind and gracious to themselves all of the time, most of the time, right? So how are we going to move from our dragon being giant? How do we get it to go back into the lizard? How do we tame the dragon, make it back into a lizard? How do we turn on our wizard brain? And this comes through self-compassion. So this self-compassion test is just a screenshot. First off, it is, please don't take this and be like, well, and start self-judgment or isolation or rumination. Maybe your score were not what you want them to be. Maybe you're not the best at self-compassion towards right now. So here are some ways that we can move into that, right? So the opposite of self-judgment is self-kindness. Now, I know this seems rudimentary, and the more we practice these behaviors and these belief systems every single day, the easier we get, or the easier, I'm going to say it right, the better time we have at having a hard time. So I often tell my staff, oh, you're going through a hard time? No problem. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to get an A+ and having a hard time. And what I mean by that is if you are in a really stressful situation, instead of going to self-judgment, I want you to go to self-kindness. I want you to go to, you're doing the best that you can. This is a really hard situation. I'm really proud of you for how you're navigating this, or we're doing okay. We're doing the best that we can right now. And it's almost like having a little coach inside your mind, or maybe on your shoulder. It's like your little angel who's like, hey, you've got this. This is okay. Life is hard for everybody, right? For those who maybe lean towards isolation, common humanity is a better example. So for me, I want to shut down, right? But common humanity looks like there's a lot of people who are going through similar situations. So I mean, right now, the financial climate, I don't know about you, but it's wild. And I work at a nonprofit and we're like, ooh, where is this coming from? But here's the other thing that I know is many of my other nonprofit partners are in the same boat as me. And so recognizing that I am not unique in my struggles, that life is hard for most of us, like it's just hard. And there's always somebody going through something, right? And when we can recognize that we are not alone in our struggle, it actually helps us feel better. And so leaning towards common humanity is I am not alone in this. And for those who are overthinkers, when your stress response is think, 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 problem solve, problem solve, problem solve, but it's just actually creating more and more problems, the best thing that we can do in that moment is find a minute of mindfulness. Now, we're going to talk about mindfulness a little bit longer in like 4 or 5 slides. And so I'm not going to dig super deep into this, but this is just one thing, one tool that you can look at, right? Because that self-compassion test is just a snapshot of a moment in time. Who knows what it'll look like in 6 weeks from now or in a year from now if you start to integrate some of these things that we're going to talk about in building your mental wellness toolkit. Questions about any of this before we move on? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to give you coping skill number 1. Now, I know this seems really, I show these coping skills to people and they're like, really, this is it? Or like, that's what I've got in my mental wellness toolkit. And I will say to you that breath work cannot be overstated. So Navy SEALs, when they are getting ready to go into battle, to go into a mission, I'm not a veteran, so I'm going to use the wrong words, and please forgive me. But when they're getting ready to go do their job, the way that they train Navy SEALs, one of the first things that they train Navy SEALs to do is box breathing, is this exact exercise. Now, I kid you not, this is something that I have, once I got sober, started integrating into my life, because life was really hard for me when I first got sober. And I'm like, I can't do anything about this. And I would just breathe about it. And now, now I walk around all day, y'all. I kid you not. I'm like, all day long. My husband one day, he came home and I was working from home and I'm just sitting here doing emails and I'm like, and he's like, "Hey, are you okay over there?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm just working." And I didn't even realize that this breath work was just part of my, it's become a habit in me that when I'm stressed, I am breathing in and breathing out, and it makes me feel better. And part of why it makes me and helps others feel better is because that breath work literally calms our nervous system. It brings us to relaxation. Um, and so what we're going to do is we're going to practice it. And so I'm going to walk you through box breathing. All right. And I'm going to show you. So you're going to inhale for four, not yet. It's going to be hard. So just hang on. You're going to inhale for 4 seconds. Then you're going to hold it. And then you're going to exhale for 4 seconds. And then you hold that exhale for 4 seconds. Now I know you're like, really, we're going to breathe in a box shape? But yes, we are. Because if you implement this simple practice into your life, it will move from a coping skill to a belief system, to a value, to a practice exercise that you do so regularly that you don't even realize that you're doing it, that your nervous system is just regulating itself. Okay. So we're going to do this for 30 seconds. That's all. All right. So I want you to go ahead when you're ready and take an inhale for 4 seconds. You're going to hold it for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now shake it off and breathe normal. So part of this exercise is it's not normal breathing. All right. So it is focused work. So you have to think about it. Whereas breath is we don't think about it when we're every day, all day long, breathing in and breathing out. We're very rarely thinking about it. But when you are practicing this hold and this inhale and exhale, it causes your entire nervous system to regulate. I just did a breathwork session earlier last weekend, and one of the things that we see people happen with people if they do this long enough is their arms and their legs and all these things start to tingle because it resets your entire system. So I can't recommend this one enough. I know I've said that already, but I really hope that you consider box breathing. If you get real into this, there are stickers that you can get on Amazon for like 25 cents, right? And it's just box breathing stickers that you can put on your water bottle or your notebook or your computer, that while you're at work, one of my staff has it on her keypad at on her laptop, and she'll just be like, I need a minute, y'all. And just, I'm going faster than normal. But thank you for practicing that exercise with me. We'll go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay. So one of the things that I want you to do, and you can do this on your phone in your notes app, you can, if you have a scratch piece of paper, that's awesome. But I want to take a second and think, what is one thing that stresses you out? Okay, just one. And please don't pick the most stressful thing in your life. All right. But don't pick something that's like hardly a stress at all for you. So pick like medium to low level stress. All right. And what I want you to do is take a full minute. So when I'm done talking, I'm going to time myself and I'm going to be quiet for a full minute. And I want you to think to yourself, what is the thing mid-level stress that you have in your life right now? And how are you either going to practice self-kindness? So remembering like you're doing your best. You're okay. I see you trying really hard. I see you navigating the world to the best of your ability. Or common humanity. Kim, you're not alone in this struggle. There are other people who are going through this, and there are people that you can talk to about this who understand. Or mindfulness. How am I going to pause when I'm stressed out and practice maybe breath work or one of the other tools that you'll learn later today? So pick one, and I want you to think about how can you integrate it into your life this week. So I'm going to give you a full minute starting right now to reflect on that. You have about 30 more seconds. Okay. So my reflection, I I've been super stressed out and I have been eating a ton of candy lately and it has not been great for my health. And so this week and moving into next week, what I'm practicing right now is mindfulness. And so when I am stepping into a moment where I'm like, I'm so stressed out, I just need like candy shoved in my face right now, I am pausing and I am thinking to myself, I have an affirmation that I say to myself is, I am healthy, I am disciplined, I can do hard things. Because for me, not eating candy is really, really hard. I know it maybe sounds silly to some of you who don't have a sweet tooth, but uh, it's hard for me. And I want to should on myself. I want to be like, why you're a grown woman. You can just not eat candy. Like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you figure this out? But instead of those things, what I do is I practice moments of mindfulness throughout my day. Now, I've been practicing this for about a week and a half now, just like I'm going into second quarter and I'm not going to eat candy for a whole quarter of the year, right? And the way that I'm doing that is by throughout the day as I'm moving in and out of stress. One, I'm constantly taking deep breaths. And two, I'm pausing to become present and remind myself of where my values are actually in alignment. Because while I enjoy eating a ton of candy, it's not actually in alignment with like what I want for myself and where I'm at. Just wanted to share my quick reflection for you so you could have an example. Okay. As you'll see, we have another Band-Aid on here, but also down is right in the middle, you can see that this is also a seedling. So gratitude. As we are, I'm sure people have been like, have you done your gratitude journal yet? Have you written down 3 things that you're grateful for? And oftentimes we say this to people and we get a little bit of an eye roll. Same thing with breath work, right? Because these skills are so simple and they're so basic. And yet we don't actually take them, we like general people don't take them and integrate them into their daily practices. So while gratitude is a coping skill, the more you do it, the more you're going to shift your mind to a belief system that searches for what you have right now instead of what is missing, right? So I have people in my life who will be like, I don't have enough. I don't know how I'm going to make it through this economy. I don't have this. And instead of, you know, I'm I work at a nonprofit. I don't make $1 million a year. I have to think, what do I have today? What do I have right now? Are my basic needs met right now? Where can I find gratitude throughout my day. So all of these practices are things that I am literally myself implementing all day, every day. So not only am I taking deep breaths throughout my day, not only am I pausing when I'm just like, I can't stand this for another minute, am I taking a minute to myself and saying, hey, you guys, I just need to go sit in my car for 3 minutes and breathe. But in that time, I'm also practicing gratitude. I'm also thinking to myself, what is working well right now? Now, one of the major shifts that I've learned in my years in this work and in my years of sobriety is, oh, my brain just went blank. See, I'm nervous. Is pausing and saying, um, what do I have right now? And oh, here it is I want to find gratitude in the difficult. All right. So I have learned to believe that the difficult situations that I'm in are here to teach me a lesson. So one of the ways that I do this when life is really hard, when like, so I'm an executive director, right? And I have to make hard decisions. Sometimes I have to fire people, and that is devastating and heartbreaking to me because we really value the individual at our organization. And I often think to myself, in 2 years from now, what will I have learned, or how can I look back? Or when I'm talking to my daughter and my husband and I are going through something difficult, how can I take this moment and use it to help somebody else in the future? And in that, I can find gratitude in my painful, just stressful situations. Is if I can look at that and go, you know what? While it really sucks that I have to fire this person, I am learning so much about leadership, about compassion, about patience in this moment. And next time I have to do this, I'm going to do it just a little bit better. And so that's one of the ways that I'm planting gratitude into my life every single day, even in the hardest times, is knowing that I have this belief that the universe is conspiring in my favor, that all of the stressful things that are being given to me are opportunities for me to grow and thrive. And so changing my mindset to that instead of, here are all the things that are wrong all the time, has been really, really, really powerful. It is a powerful tool that my staff use. So when we're like, what are we going to do about this? Instead, we go, what are we going to learn from this? How are we going to grow from this? And through that, we are finding gratitude in that moment. So instead of a simple, like, okay, now everybody write down 3 things they're grateful for, I'm going to ask you to dive just a little bit deeper. All right. And so I have these prompts right here, and I'm going to give you all another 4 minutes. We're going to take 4 full minutes to do this. And I want you to just pick one. Pick one of these prompts and put it in your phone. Don't just think about it in your head. Like, write it down somewhere on your phone, on a scratch piece of paper, but get it out of your head and on into the physical world. Because by doing that, we minimize our dragon gets just a little bit smaller. And it's one practical tool of releasing that stress hormone that we're having. All right. So please pick one of these and just think through it and then write it down somewhere. All right, I'm going to give you 4 minutes starting now. I'm sorry, I should mention, I am thinking like when you're looking at these 5 questions, like what is one thing about this process that reminds you of how far you come? Thinking like in whatever your stressful situation is, right? So you're kind of implanting your own experience into these questions. We have about 90 more seconds. So go ahead and finish up whatever your last thought is. And then, as you can see, this lovely woman, hang on, I'm trying to move the box again. I feel like it's okay, it's just gonna stay there because I'm gonna, fine, it'll just stay in the middle of my screen. Um, Thank you for letting me be so human during this training. See, gratitude instead of self-judgment, right? Um, so one of the things that I want to teach you is the action that is actually on the screen right now. So when we're in gratitude, when we're taking a moment, or any other time when we feel like we need this, if you take your hand and you put it over your heart and you take this hand and you put it over this one, what this does is it triggers the mammalian effect, right? So what this feels like is it feels like a baby. It holds the same pressure in your nervous system as a baby who's being breastfed, all right? And so oftentimes my staff and I will be in high stress moments and we will literally pause and be like, I need a minute, and we'll take some deep breaths, hold our hand over our heart, practice gratitude. In this moment, I am grateful for this, or I can find this opportunity or whatever. And so if you do that for a full 30 seconds, it also helps regulate your nervous system. So all of these things are just simple tools that literally anybody could do. And I promise, I know I've been saying this over and over, but if you practice these simple things on a daily basis, you'll likely find that you're able to navigate stressors a lot more easily. Okay, so mindfulness. Now, I am going to talk a little bit about meditation, but what I want to be really clear about mindfulness, it helps us move from dragon to lizard. Okay, it helps us move from reacting in fight, flight, or freeze and into our wizard brain. What it does is it pulls us out of the fear, out of the scarcity, out of the heightened emotion that we're in, and it pulls us back down to prefrontal cortex, to our thinking brain, to our processing brain, and it allows us to react instead of respond. So often, well, actually, I have a wonderful video, and I think that it's my favorite. So I'm gonna go ahead and push play. Britt or Jennifer, let me know. I think I shared it in the right way, so that I'm going to stop sharing actually, and I'm going to reshare and make sure to include the audio. There we go. And now this is going to play beautifully for us.
It looks good, Kim.
Thanks.
You may have heard this word mindfulness. It's become something of a buzz phrase of late. So I'm going to give you one simple, serviceable definition, which is this. Mindfulness is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Imagine how useful this could be. Just as an example, you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off in traffic. How do you normally react? I think most of us, we normally react by having a thought, which is, I'm pissed. And then what happens next? You immediately, habitually, reflexively inhabit that thought. You actually become pissed. There's no buffer between the stimulus and your reaction. With just a little bit of mindfulness, in that same situation, you might notice my chest is buzzing, my ears are turning red, I'm having a starburst of self-righteous thoughts, I'm getting angry. But you don't necessarily have to act on it and chase that person down the road, screaming at them with your kids in the back of the car thinking you've gone nuts. Now, you might be thinking, don't I need to get angry sometimes? Aren't I justified? I would say yes, but probably not as much as you think. The proposition here is not that you should be rendered by mindfulness into some lifeless, non-judgmental blob. The proposition is that you should learn how to respond wisely to things that happen to you rather than just reacting blindly. And that, my friends, is a superpower. How do you get it? The way to get it is through meditation. I believe that meditation and mindfulness are the next big public health revolution. In the 1940s, if you told somebody you were going running, they would have said, who's chasing you? But then what happened next? The scientists swooped in, they showed that physical exercise is really good for you, and now all of us do it, and if we don't, we feel guilty about it. And that's where I think we're headed with mindfulness and meditation. It's going to join the pantheon of no-brainers like brushing your teeth, eating well, and taking the meds your doctor prescribed for you. Let me just close by saying, mindfulness is not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to render your life a nonstop parade of unicorns and rainbows. Nonetheless, this is a superpower, and one that is accessible by you immediately.
There we go. Okay. So before we practice this very simple tool, as you can see, this is a coping skill. But again, if we can practice this Band-Aid so that it becomes a habit, it will change into our beliefs, our core values, and how we perceive the world, right? Now, a few things. We're going to meditate. I say this, that's probably not fair because we are going to do it. And we're going to do it for 1 minute, but I want to explain a few things first. So when we talk about meditation and mindfulness, so many people think what I'm asking you to do or what people are suggesting is that we turn off our brains. And that is the opposite of what we're actually doing. So our brains are thinking machines. They were created to keep us moving and functioning and thinking. We are not trying to stop our brain from working, okay? We are not trying to silence the noise. What we are trying to do is become aware of our thoughts so that you know that you are not your thoughts, right? So you might be sitting here going, I feel like right now, my nose feels stuffy, my throat is scratchy, but that I am not stuffy and scratchy, right? Those are experiences that I'm having. My thoughts are not who I am. And so what we're trying to do is notice your thoughts so that when I am walking my dog on my mindfulness walk, and my brain just starts to go off on a tangent, that I can pull myself out of that tangent and recognize that I'm in it, right? And so we want to recognize our thoughts because so often our minds are racing into the future, which often causes anxiety. So when we're constantly worried about what's to come, that is where anxiety comes in. When we're constantly worried about what happened in the past, like, oh my gosh, I logged into this training and then I couldn't stay logged on. I got kicked off. I didn't know how to share my screen. Everybody thinks I'm a terrible human. Instead of that rumination and letting my brain run, I'm going to pause and say, huh, that's actually one way to look at it. Or, it could go a totally different way. But knowing that I can stop those thoughts and restart something else, that is mindfulness. That is being present right here and now. Okay. So what we're going to do is for a minute, you can practice box breathing. You can sit quietly. You can, stare at the water on this leaf. You can close your eyes. But for a whole minute, I want you to try to recognize as thoughts come in your brain. So if you're sitting here and you're like, okay, and then you start doing breathing, right? You're going to practice your box breathing, but all of a sudden your brain's like, oh, I'm so hungry. What am I going to start to eat? I wonder what I want for lunch, blah, 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 blah. And then you go, oh, actually, we're breathing right now, right? You want to recognize that your brain has gone off on a tangent and you're going to go, actually, I want to bring you back to right here in this moment. So we're just trying to recognize our thoughts, not get rid of them. Okay, so let's see what kind of thoughts cross your mind in the next minute. All right, we're going to practice starting now. Okay, that was a full minute. I would recommend 5 to 15 minutes a day, because practicing mindfulness is like any other skill. It is a muscle that you have to work. It is something that you have to actively engage. It is a skill that you have to learn. But as you learn it, what happens and what you'll see in life is that when you're in a stressful situation, it pulls you out of that stress and says, what's happening right here, right now? In this moment, I'm sitting in a training. All of my needs are met. Everything is fine. I have everything that I need. I am safe. I'm secure. And that fight, flight, or freeze, that dragon, you can go back to being a lizard. Okay, because my wizard brain is on and I am ready to move through this difficult situation through breathing, mindfulness, gratitude, any of those things. Okay, I'm going to move through this really a little bit quicker because we have about 8 minutes left. This is the last thing that I'm going to share with you, but I want to talk about building a wellness plan. So instead of these 2 white boxes that you see over here, instead of having you write them down, I just want to give you some like orientation to what we're looking for when we're talking about the wellness plan. So for you, the individual, I like to talk about the octopus. Okay, this was taught to me when I first got sober. So an octopus has 8 legs. There are 8 dimensions of wellness. Now, if an octopus loses one of their legs, it still has its 7 other legs to like hold it and move it while this one grows back, right? And the goal in life is to have a multi-dimensional toolbox, to have lots of things in your toolbox, because the truth is, I don't know anybody anywhere that is functioning that is just like peak performance all the time, that every single one of their dimensions is just like firing on all cylinders. All right, so even me, who does this for a living, I practice this all day every day as a part of like who I am still not functioning at 100% in all of these, and I don't know that I ever have or if I ever will. But what I do know is that it's important to have multiple things to keep me tethered to my wellness, right? And so that if I go off the rails and I just start manically eating candy, I I also am still exercising and still drinking my water. I'm still connecting with my friends. I'm still talking to my trusted adults, right? Those closed mouth friends that I can come to and say, listen, I am off the wheels right now and I am not doing okay and I'm spinning out in this area of my life. I still have those other things that are going to tether me to well-being. And so what I want to do right now is I actually want to take time to go through this wellness plan. All right. Now I'm going to give you 4 minutes. I'm lying. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Okay. What we're going to do is look at this, and I'm going to strongly encourage you to do this on your own. I just want to be so mindful of people's time. So actually, I changed my mind again, and I'm going to walk through some of these things that I want you to consider. And then I'm going to encourage you to do this on your own. So this is like a fancy text one, but if you scan that QR code down there in the corner, you'll get just a plain text one that you can print and fill out on your own. This is something that I do with my staff. This is something that I do with my family. This is something that we all do consistently. Now, here's the first thing that I will say. All of this is just this snapshot in time. So if you complete this, which I really, really genuinely hope you do, if you complete this wellness plan and you're like, listen, this doesn't work for me anymore, do it again, do it differently, right? So something that works, excuse me, right now might not be the same thing that's going to work in 6 months or in 3 years from now, right? One point that I'll point out, or one thing I will point out, is in the ways to support myself. So I'm looking at these 4 things right here. Oh, if I do that, it scrolls backwards. Okay. So these 4 things, things that almost always work, things that I do regularly that matter. When you answer these questions, if you find something that is in all of them, for example, walking for me, I love going for a walk, but I don't always love to go for a walk, but it does always help me, right? Sometimes I don't want to walk my dog. I don't want to go outside. I want to stay curled up in front of the TV doing nothing. Um, but if I put that on there and you see it multiple times, that's usually your primary coping skill. Okay. Now, one of the things that I want to point out on the other side of ways to support myself or ways to connect with, ways to connect with others, this top one in gray that says, who will I call to help me carry the load? Now, oftentimes people will say, I have a handful of people. I have 1 or 2 people that I could call no matter what. I can call at 3 a.m. and I know that they would answer. Now, if you're anything like me, you're not likely to call that person at 3 a.m. just because you can't. So what I want to do instead is I want to know, who are the people that you can say, hey, I'm having a hard time in life right now. Can you do this for me? Hey, husband, yesterday I said I need to go to bed as soon as my day. I went to bed at 4:30 yesterday in the afternoon. And I texted my husband and I said, I'm having a really hard time. I need you to walk the dog and I need you to take care of things because I can't. And so he was able to help me carry that load. At work, it might be my deputy director. Hey, I'm having a really hard time. I need to take the day off. Can you manage the staff for the day? Right? So it's somebody who can do something for you. Now, oftentimes people will say, I don't want to ask somebody for help. I don't want to put them out, but I will challenge this, that when you give opportunities for people to be of service, it helps them too. So if I asked all of you, how many of you would be willing to help somebody in need? Everybody's going to raise their hand. Everybody's going to say, I am. But then I ask, how many of you are really good at asking for help? Very rarely does everybody raise their hand, right? We're so good at giving help, but we're not good at asking for it. When you ask others for help, 2 things happen. 1, you give them permission to do the same. You give them permission to ask you for help. And 2, you give them the opportunity to be of service. And volunteering and being of service to your community is one of the top protective factors against suicide, which is, at the end of the day, is like the worst case scenario of like mental unwellness, right? And so I'm just going to encourage you to please, please take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes and fill this out. Fill this out with your family, fill this out with your staff. And when somebody is not having a good time or they're having a hard time and you're like, how can I help? And they're like, I don't know. What you say is, what's on your wellness plan? How's your wellness plan going? Let's look at your wellness plan and let's find ways to get you some extra support. Okay. So how do you know? I know we're out of time, so I'm just going to say this last thing. How do you know when it's time to reach out for extra help? How do you know when none of the coping skills are working? You haven't had enough time to integrate all of these things into practice. I want you to think about this really ridiculous saying, live, laugh, love. And here's why. Live is your ability to go to work, to go to school, to feed yourselves, to do daily activities. Laugh is your ability to enjoy satisfying activity. So what brings me joy? And love is your ability to have satisfying relationships, not only with others, but with yourself. If you are having difficulty living, laughing, or loving for an extended period of time, at least 2 weeks or longer, it's definitely time to reach out for help. Now, I know that people are kind of scattered all over the place from this training. And so I want to leave you with this last thing, which is 988. This is the Colorado Mental Health Helpline. Okay. You can call this 24/7 anytime you're like, I need a resource. I need to be connected. I'm worried about somebody. I'm worried about myself. This is your pocket mental health person. All right. I cannot recommend this line enough. I love it so much, and I find it to be truly, truly helpful. Thank you. I know we are out of time today. I know I rushed through the end a little bit. I'm happy to stay on afterwards in case anybody needs or has questions or wants more information. But please genuinely give yourself a hug today. It helps you feel better, I promise. Thank you, everybody, for all of your time. I appreciate you.
Kim, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us today. And thank you to all of us who joined us this afternoon. I hope you take these tips with you into your day and hope that you join us again at our next session on June 17th to learn more about Stress Management Toolkit. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.